What's up, YouTube? Georgia Silver Hunter here, and I am freshly back from our week-long vacation in Jamaica. And the only thing I had laying around the house, and they've been here for about a month, is a bank box of pennies, which I've already opened to make sure we had circulated pennies, which we do. And I've had a bunch of customer wrapped pennies laying around the house that I haven't gotten into. And I thought now would be a good time, because all the banks were closed by the time we got home. So let's jump into it. So before we jump into our first roll, I did want to call out that we are doing a hunt and fill series in this video. This book is completely full, book number 3, up through, I think it's, 2013. Completely full. There are some upgrades we need. Here in book 2, that is 41 through 74, there's about 15 coins that are missing. Mostly wheat pennies. Actually, it's all wheat pennies from the really kind of early 40s up through about 51 or 52. There's a couple of holes in there, 15 coins. And in this 1909 to 1940, I need every single penny except for, I think, 8. So definitely on the lookout for early 1940s wheat pennies and earlier. If you are new to penny hunting and you watch this video and want to get into it, a couple of things you're going to want to make sure you have. One is a digital scale that does to the tenths of a gram, if not the hundredths of a gram, because a zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams, a copper penny weighs 3.1, and there's a few varieties you're going to want to check. And sometimes pennies are kind of cruddy, and the easiest way to tell what they're made of is to throw them on this scale. I have a link for this and all the other stuff I'm going to show you in the description down below this video. This handy dandy penny mat, it's linked inside of a document that I use for all of my coin roll hunts, but it's got all the varieties I look for, as well as our key dates, semi-key dates, and our better dates. And of course, you do need a microscope, and I recently did a video on this one. This one is really expensive, but if you're interested in something like this, I do have a link in the description down below. I also have a link for a much, much cheaper entry-level digital pluggable scope that, again, if you're just starting out, that's probably a better option. And as you can see, we've got a 2023 Philadelphia penny on there just to show it off a little bit. And watch that zoom. Isn't that pretty cool? How we can zoom in on that. Pretty neat. Anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and crack into these rolls. So we're going to go ahead and start off with these customer wrapped rolls. I know that when I got them, I did weigh them because that's just something I do when I get my rolls and they're customer wrapped. I kind of like to know if they're going to be heavy, if they're going to be light, if they're pennies and they're really heavy. It usually means they're stocked full of extra pennies or lots and lots of copper. So 130.5, I mean, it could be an extra penny or two, but likely just some additional copper in there. You know, if you get a roll that weighs 150 or 155 grams, that could be just a bunch of extra pennies. Or you could have an entire roll of copper pennies. And I've actually done that before at the bank. Gone in and picked up some customer wrap stuff and found a lot of copper, or fully loaded rolls full of copper. But like, here's a 1974D. I'm just going to try to pull out what I see as copper real quick. I will go back through all of these and search them for all of our various varieties. But let's see here. That's probably copper. There's a 1964D. Let's see. We're going to get lucky and find any wheat pennies. It looks like a 1978. So I'm not seeing any wheat pennies, but definitely that was at least 4 coppers, and I'm sure I missed some along the way. Like maybe that's a 1995. So with that said, I'm going to go on back, and if I find anything interesting, I'll go ahead and bring you guys in. But here's a 79 that I picked up along the way. So 5 coppers in our first roll. Hopefully I'll see you soon. We're on roll number 5, and we have our first find of the hunt. And it did come up obverse facing. I had to pick it up to see it because it was kind of dark. It is a 1937 wheat penny, and this is definitely in that age range that I'm looking for book number 1. It has seen better days. I don't know if it's going to be a book filler or I doubt it'll be an upgrade, but hopefully we'll see a lot more in the 20s and 30s in this hunt. We're on roll number 6, and we have our next find. We've got a misstuffed penny roll from a customer here. Looks like it's a 2007 something, a little bit of gunk on it, but hey, we just made 9 cents on that roll. Roll number 10, we have our next wheat penny. It's a 1944. Let's take a look at the back. And I know for a fact I've got a 1944 in my book, so this may be an upgrade. We'll have to check it at the end. Just laying out roll 15, and as I splayed it across the mat here, something jumped out at me. Right here, we have our third wheat penny of the hunt. Let's zoom in here and take a look. A 1954 Denver. Now, I do find lots and lots of these, and I'm not seeing any varieties on this one, so up on the stack it goes. Right in there somewhere. Same roll, about 3/4 of the way through, and we have our first foreign of the hunt. We have a 2006 Canadian. A little worse for wear, but it's copper, so at least I believe it's like 95% copper, so we'll go ahead and throw it up as a find. So we are on roll 28 of our 30 customer wrapped rolls, and we have our next find. It is a 1955 Denver, which means it is a wheat penny. If you are finding 1955s, you really want to find that Philadelphia and look for really strong doubling on the year, the 1955. I'll put a shot of it up on the screen here. If you find one of those, it is worth gobs and gobs of money. So we're getting through roll 29, and I'd gone through the first little bit, and as I was spreading them out, something poked out at me here, and you can see we've got another wheat penny, this time reverse facing. Let's check it out here together. We've got, what is that, a 1953 Denver, and quickly looking at my cheat sheet, we don't have any DDOs or DDRs, so we'll just put it up on the board, and it'll be our fifth wheat penny on the hunt. So still on roll 29, and I'm bringing you in here under the microscope. I have a can you see it from here? A 1995, which does have a DDO, and I found something interesting. I think it is like the zinc plating, kind of machine doubling or DDO, but let's take a look at it here on the scope. It's like a poor man's double die. You can see that we've got remnants of 2 5s, kind of here and here, when it comes to 2 points, and around here. And there's a name for this where I think the zinc kind of bubbles up. I don't recall the name of it. I did check out Variety Vista. I did also look on my Cherry Picker's Guide and did not find anything about this. There's no other doubling on the coin. So if you know what this is, let me know. I'll keep it pulled aside, but I don't think it's all that special. If anything, it looks more like a little machine doubling than anything else, but was interesting enough for me to pull you aside. Well, that's it for our 30 rolls of customer wrapped. We did end up with 5 wheat pennies, which I'll keep out, and I'll add the entire $25 box, which we're going to do next, onto these finds. We did find a couple of 2009s I didn't bring you in for, and I did find an interesting 1972. I just want to bring you in here real quick. I didn't bring you in earlier, but I couldn't tell if I had something here, if it was a DDO or not, and really it's just the E looks a little doubled, but that could be some machine, some post-mint damage. And when I get over here to the word, or the N on in God, it just looks funny to me. I compared it to all the Variety Vista images and couldn't find anything quite like it, but something just told me to hang on to this one. So if any of these letters look interesting to you, like that R looks a little funny, if this looks interesting to you, let me know in the comments down below. I'll just keep this pulled aside. I wasn't quite sure, but thought it would be a good time to bring you in here after we got done through the box. The last thing I wanted to show you was the distribution of copper throughout those rolls. So this was roll number 1 all the way through roll number 30. And you can see we did have a couple of rolls that just literally had 1 copper coin, but we had a couple that had like 10 or 12 coppers in it. So pretty good distribution of that copper metal. So we'll throw those in a cup. We'll weigh it up at the end with the $25 box and see just how much copper we got in this hunt. Well, now we're going to go ahead and get into this box of circulated pennies. I'm trying to remember where I got this from. I think it might have been Fifth Third, but it might have been a Wells Fargo bank that had them. I just don't recall because I have had this box for a little over a month. But let me get the camera put up and we'll open a roll together and see what we find. So I went ahead and weighed the first 10 rolls, and this one was 132 grams. Nothing special on the ends, but it was the heaviest of all of them, which means, like I said earlier in the video, we've either got a handful of extra pennies or a whole lot of copper. And just opening that up and looking at the edges, I think we've got a whole lot of copper in this roll. So let's just do a quick weedy hunt. See if we find anything. I mean, there's going to be tons of copper. Like, that's copper. That's copper. I won't pull all the coppers. Let me just go through and see if we can find Wheaties. No. No, no, and no. But there is a lot of copper in that roll. I'm going to guess there's probably 10 or 12. And I'll go through them. If we find anything interesting, I'll be sure to pull you in. So this box has been a little bit slower than I had hoped. We're up here on roll number 19. You can see we have found lots of copper. We've made a couple of small additions up here, some additional 2009s, some potential book upgrades. But I'm bringing you in because we have found our next wheat penny of the overall hunt. It looks like it's a little bit older. Let's check it out. We have a 1946 S, and there is a S over D variety. So let's check that out together. Let's see here. I'm not seeing it. Looks just like a regular 1946S. We're on roll 22, and we have our next wheat penny. Again, this one came up obverse facing. I've already taken a look, but I'll show it to you guys for the first time. Here we go. It is a 1952S. So we got another San Francisco here on the box. We're on roll 33. We have our next wheat penny find. It was just a couple of coins into the roll, and it's our second oldest wheat penny of the hunt, and one of the older wheat pennies I've found in a long, long time. And it's actually in pretty darn good shape. 1939 Philly. We're on roll 35, and we have come across our next wheat penny. It is the oldest wheat penny, or the last year of the wheat penny, the 1958 Philadelphia. We'll put it on the board. So we're on roll 49, and we found our next wheat penny, and it came up obverse facing, so I've already seen the date, and it is a 1955. And this does have a DDO, and it's the one you're really looking for if you can find it. And I'll zoom back out here, and this doesn't have it. But you're really looking at that 1955 year, and you're looking for really strong doubling on that. And if you can find it, we're talking big, big dollars. So not here, but it's another wheat penny on the hunt. Well, we've reached the end of the box, so I'm bringing you back in for all of our finds. Then we'll see what we end up filling our book up with. I do think we have a couple of book fillers and possibly 1 or 2 upgrades. So let's check it out. We'll start with, we had 1 dime out of 50 rolls of pennies. Surprisingly, we only had 1 Canadian. Normally we see quite a few more Canadian pennies. That was just a 2006. Unlike most of my hunts, we got some wheat pennies in the 30s. We had a 37 and a 39, and I believe both of those are going in the book. We had a 44 and a 46S. Let's see here. We had a 52S, a 53D. We managed to find a 55 and a 55D. We have a 54D. Sorry, those are a little bit out of order. And a 58. And I did hang on to all of my 59s that I found. I think most of them were 59Ds. I do just like to see how many of those I find per box, and this one we found 4. And you always want to check your 59s to see if you have that wheat penny reverse, because that's a pretty valuable variety. I've never found one, but it is on my sort of bucket list to find. Outside of that, we did keep track of all of our 2009s. We had 5 of the early childhood, we had 1 of the formative years, and we had 4 of the professional life. None of these are going to upgrade the book, and I have far nicer examples in my collection already. And I did check this one for the extra thumb, and it wasn't there. Outside of that, we have a really nice 1969, I think that's a S, that we're going to check our book for an upgrade. We had a kind of a blingin' 73, a decent-looking 2006, 2008. And I pulled, I was going to show you guys, if you didn't know, I found a handful of the 1982 small dates, both in zinc and in copper. And this one was in copper, and it was probably the nicest one I had. I wanted to see if it upgraded my book. But if you were unaware, there is a 1982 small date and large date, and there is a error that is out there. I think there's very few of them in existence, but it's the 1982 small date Denver in copper. So every time I find one of these small dates Denver, I always throw it on the scale because I'm hoping to find that copper variety. So let me go through my books, see what ends up being an upgrade, and I'll bring in and show you what we punched down. And before I forget, we did have a really decent-sized cup of copper in this one. I know I brought you in kind of at roll 30, but I've weighed all of the copper we have outside of what's on the table, so keep in mind the number's actually going to be a little bit larger than what I share with you. But we ended up with 1,032.9 grams of copper in this cup, which at today's copper price works out to $8.84 worth of copper. So this is probably a couple $3 worth, maybe $2.50, $3 worth of pennies. And so it ends up being $8.84 worth of copper. So pretty cool. Okay, so the only things we're going to get to upgrade, and I'm actually kind of, not even upgrade, to plug in, I'm kind of excited about it here, is in the very first book. That 1937, 309.2 million minted. It's ugly, but it will fill a hole. And we had that 1939, 316.5 million. That will fill a hole. So pretty excited about that. And you can see this book is really, really light because I just don't find a lot of pre-40s wheat pennies in my hunts. And we had this 1954D, which after looking at it on the scope, it's a very, very slight upgrade to the penny that I have in there. So we're just going to pop that out here real quick and punch that in. And we'll hang on to that wheat penny because I always keep all my wheat pennies. So outside of that, we are, I think, done. I neglected to mention that 1995 again that had that almost like zinc plated doubling. If you know more about that, I did bring you in earlier in the video. If you know anything more about that, let me know. And then I had this 1972 that I pulled aside because it looked like it had some doubling when I first, kind of looked at it. And the more that I look at it, the less I think it is something. So I think it's just a copper penny. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Pennies are tough. Boxes just take a really long time to do. And I just don't find lots of wheat pennies. But I try to have as much fun as I can doing it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you do drop on down below. Click that subscribe button. And then click that like button so you get notified each and every time I release a new video. And if you're new to the channel or old, make sure you do drop below. Leave me a comment. Click that like button. I'd really appreciate it. I would like to say thank you to all my channel members. I need to do a member stream sometime here. I know we're getting late into April, or kind of mid-April, but I'd like to do some kind of member stream for the handful of members that I do have. So you guys stay tuned. You guys take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.